Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. So glad to see everybody here. Well, thank you, Father Christopher Miller. Hello to
Hello.
you. I hope you're doing good. Miss you tons. Can't wait to reconnect and link up and hear how everything has been going. Nerdporial Lifeform, you've never heard of Mythica? Well, we're on number 4. If you go back and watch the last 3 live streams, we've covered each film. Project Storytime was not there for the first one, so it's a little less cool, but he is in 2 and 3. So, yes, we have had a blast covering 3 out of 5. Tonight's 4 out of 5 of the Mythica series and mythos. So I really hope that you enjoy this. This is probably, and you'll understand why I say this in a second, probably not the film you should come in on.
Yeah.
For several reasons. Stieg Kenobi, hello. I am well. I hope you are well. How are you, Project? You good?
I am. I work is progressing very well on my house, so the living room is close to actually being livable again.
Ah, that's definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
Raj,
those
hello.
for those who don't know, a car hit my house back in May
Yeah.
and it's just now getting fixed.
Like that person could definitely hit the broadside of a barn because they kind of did.
Yeah. And it's one
um,
of those you can't really say, the house jumped out in front of me. You know who's responsible.
yeah, pretty much. Cal G dropping in to say, oh, you can't stay long. That's totally fine. Thank you for coming at all. I greatly appreciate it. You can always catch the replay. Legioness, greetings and salutation, my good sir, my dear wrench. Let's see. Oh, look, there's Project all up in the chat.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
Miss Martin Muses. Hello, wonderful Miss Martin Muses. Thank you so much for coming. So glad you could be here. Nerdporial, yes, we're all sorry to hear that there is an extra breezeway in Project's house right now.
But not
So,
anymore. The wall is back up. they,
uh,
they they built that wall.
it is built, build it, and they shall stay in the house. um, well, good evening, Chris Persia. How far art thou, good sir? So happy to see you. And he says hi to you, Project.
Hello, Chris. How you doing?
So glad. And there's Raj again. All right, so as a promise from last week, I don't see Cybot in here, but I did promise that would be the first thing that we hit. So for $10 from last week, sup, Lady G, as a dedicated lover of pulp literature, Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs is my favorite literary character. Might have harped on this before, but how would you handle a Tarzan movie if you were in charge of one? What would be included in it, etc.? So my favorite Tarzan novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs, or not graphic, is number 3, Tarzan the Invincible, for several reasons. But I think I don't know. I just really like Tarzan in that one. Number 1, of course, I believe is Tarzan of the Apes or Tarzan King of the Apes. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But if I were in charge of a project like Tarzan, first of all, it would have an actual Tarzan, like the animated Tarzan for Disney. I think they nailed that aesthetic so well because Tarzan shouldn't be a super bulky guy, but he should be a very lean, muscular guy because he's not a gorilla. He's not an ape, but he has lived with them, he's moved with them, he's gone through the trees with them, right? So first and foremost would have to be someone who is believable as Tarzan, someone who would be able to carry that physique of basically just shredded steel, essentially.
Right.
Like not
Yeah.
an Arnie.
Yeah. Lean but ripped.
Exactly. Like we are and not wiry because like
Right.
that's a different wiry is where you don't look like you're strong and then you are. Tarzan looks like he could snap your skull with his bare hands. Like just remove it from the body. So he would be my biggest focus, and the writing and the character summary of him would have to just be pure masculinity, because he is in the jungle, he is in the wilds, he is survival, you know, making sure that his his family, making sure that they're safe, doing things to you know, fit in and to be accepted and to really have that almost, I guess, not desperation, but just that like hunger and that thirst to always do what's best for the entire group, because he is a male, he is an alpha male, and that's what that's what alpha males do. So he would be huge for that. Jane is going to have to be, well, anybody that any females that play opposite him, because when you get into Invincible, like other almost Amazonian females get introduced. If I remember, it's been a long time since I've read it, but the females will have to look female, because you have to realize part of what Tarzan's fascination is he's never seen another human that he can recall. Obviously, like, he had his parents or whatever, but then of course they died tragically, and it did not happen like in the Disney films, in the Disney movie, just so we're clear. Disney Disneyfied Tarzan, which makes sense, but I mean, even for Disney, that was still pretty gruesome, that you can see the dead bodies laying there. Like, that was pretty edge for Disney for sure. So Tarzan,
I still never really liked the tree surfing. I thought that was a weird choice. It's like, you would shred your feet so badly.
I mean, his feet would have to be calloused to no end.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tree, like, again, it was an animated
more
film.
callous now than man.
Yes, yeah, he would have to be. Yeah, no, the walking, like the way that they portrayed him walking and stuff made some kind of sense, but he would almost here's the thing, with Disney films, you just kind of have to realize that no human being can walk around on all fours like that in a hunched position and then walk straight up and down. Like, there's no issue. Like, they will have an eternal hunch.
He would destroy his spine doing that.
Yes. So a lot of things that in the adaptations, George of the Jungle is actually a closer adaptation to Tarzan than the Disney Tarzan. I'm just being honest. Like, it is 1,000%. And if Brendan Fraser was 20 years younger, he's who I would cast. Alexander Skarsgård in The Legend of Tarzan was a good look. Yes. I mean, there's been live action adaptations, and like I said, but if you're comparing, because a lot of people's references for Tarzan, unfortunately, is the Disney animated film. And not that it's a bad.
I go back to the 30s version.
Yeah, like, it's not that it's a bad film. It's just, I think that might be the most up to date Tarzan movie, at least that I'm aware of. Unless there's one that came out that Tarzan and Jane actually came out, didn't it? Something came out, and I did not.
I have to admit, I'm not up to date on my Tarzan lore.
Yeah, I want to say it probably came out in like the early 2000s, maybe. That could have just been another Disney animated film. I have no idea. But the live actions that I have seen are the older ones. And oh, yeah, shoot. Okay. See, I did a quick Google search and look at that. They did do a live action. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I have not seen this live action adaptation, and I completely forgot that this was a thing. So that came out in 2016, apparently.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. This to me, not that he is not muscular, but at least in this shot, he's not. This is going to sound so picky, but if you are running around the jungle and you are climbing rocks and swinging from trees and hefting your body weight all of the time. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but resistance training is some of the best way to cut and shred and build muscle definition and tone.
Right.
It's not going to build muscle mass, but it's going to tone the ever-loving crap out of you. This should be much more cut. Like, you should be able, like, there should be a cavernous, like, really just super cut right on his tricep, because those things are going to be working all day, every day. Okay, more like this one.
You should be able to shred cheese with his abs.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, do you see here the difference? We're like, look at that tricep. I wonder if this is from a different, I don't know if it's a different angle, or, but like, his arms should look like that all the time. Because, like, that, I mean, that's just, think about what this man is doing 24/7. You know?
Right.
So he should be far more. That is hilarious to me. And why does his ab suddenly look CGI? What is happening? Oh no. Okay, so yes, there is apparently a live action Tarzan, and according to Shane Nolan, it's not a good movie. Okay. I appreciate the heads up. I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't even remember, like, hearing about this, honestly. It's been a minute for sure, but like, this is a terrible picture of animated Tarzan, but I mean, that's more what his arms should look like. Like, his forearms should be way bigger than his triceps. And that's just because of the physiology of the human body. That's really the only reason.
Tarzan should also look like he skipped leg day.
Yes, he should. He's like, his legs should be, again, defined muscle. Like, they should not be huge. But you should be able to see, like, a cut calf and stuff like that. But yeah, his legs should be tiny. Okay, if we're choosing between Ryan Reynolds and Chris Pratt for Tarzan, it should be Chris Pratt. Hands down, bar none. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. And I will fight until the end of time on that. But okay, yeah, and I would not, why does this CGI has come a long way since, like, Planet of the Apes, right? Unless I am mistaken. Did we go backwards at some point when it comes to CGI? Because this looks terrible.
It does.
Like, that is awful. I would get the same people who worked on TMNT 1990 with the turtle costumes, and I would get them together, and 98% of the apes would be practical effects. Because, yikes. I really am getting sick of films that lean almost 100% on CGI and green screen. It's just, you end up with crap like this. That looks like CGI lions in front of
the live action Lion King.
Yeah.
It's like,
no.
It's CGI. There's no lions there, so don't tell me that it's live action.
But, like, if you look at this, that 100% looks like Tarzan.
Yeah.
That she could pull off Jane. But yeah, my focus would really be on aesthetics, because there's a lot, as we see from these stills, there's a lot that can go wrong with this. And no CGI in Planet of the Apes. Yeah, there was in the newer ones.
No.
Oh yeah, you mean the original 1968? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And those prosthetics still look great.
Yeah, those prosthetics still hold up. That's the thing. Like, practical effects are far superior to any CGI, which again, Jurassic Park 1 holds up. That T-Rex holds up. It's because it's a practical effect. It's
the dinosaur stampede with the Gallimimuses. That's a little more now, but it still looks great. But the thing that makes Jurassic Park hold up is the fact that they blended things.
Yeah.
You had CGI dinosaurs. You also had animatronic dinosaurs. You had miniatures. So they
And the
keep
CGI was
blending.
used, yeah, they used it sparingly especially
Yes.
in that first Jurassic Park. They used the CGI sparingly and only when absolutely necessary because they just didn't have what they needed to fill in whatever it was. So
Right.
yeah, when it comes to Tarzan, I would first of all I would shoot on location because from these stills it feels like a lot of this is that does not look real. That looks like he's jumping at a green screen. Like it literally looks like he's jumping into a green screen, not off of a ledge into a jungle.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that I would have a stuntman or an actor literally jump off of a ledge into a river below, but you can't tell me that
No.
you can't tell me that this doesn't exist somewhere in the world where you could actually have like a practical like where you would basically edit him into the practical scene. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm sorry, that just looks and maybe this is a practical scene, but this looks like he's jumping at a green screen. And I don't even know why. It might be the scale. I have no idea. Like, why are these trees? I don't know. See, I'm just super picky now. I'm just difficult because I'm a woman. And like this looks this looks so photoshopped. It's not even funny. Like
Yeah. I mean
like
that gorilla looks terrible.
that gorilla looks awful. Like
I've seen video game cutscenes that have better graphics.
yeah, that ain't it, Chief. Like at all. Even Tarzan is looking a bit. Oof. What's with how is the sun on this side of his leg if it's coming from over here? What is going on right now? Who edited this? Stop it. Okay, we're done. So yes, clearly two things that I would focus on outside of storytelling and staying as close to accurate as possible in regards to the books. I would have to say my focus would really be on aesthetics. And making sure that it was properly cast, quite frankly, because practical effects and definitely better casting.
Yes.
Or decent or correct casting. Those would be my big things. All right. There you go, Cybot. Thank you for the $10 from last week. And then you donated another $5 saying you mentioned you would like the chance to play Warhammer tabletop. May I ask what army faction you would prefer to play as, and if so, why that one? Okay, so I do have some figures. And when I show you the faction that I selected for myself, it should really come as no surprise to anyone. Because, like, there's some super cool, very aesthetically pleasing, and just, like, badass looking factions. But I 1000% went with Space Marines. Like, this is my faction. And that has to do with, of course, the fact that I am a Marine. So I was like, it's no contest. I don't really like the codex of the Space Marines because it says that they don't excel at anything. Like, so it's basically they're a jack of all trades, master of none is essentially what you get. They're very well rounded. They're good at a lot of things, but they don't have like one thing that is spearheaded of exceptionalism. And having served in the Marine Corps, I can tell you right now, that is not the case. In fact, I would not say that the Marines do everything exceptionally well because when we don't, people die. So I have a little bit of a love-hate, but yes, my faction is obviously the Space Marines. The thing that is interesting about 40K is like there's no good guys. I want to say aren't there like 25 factions now or something? 26? See, it's been too long. But yeah, Space Marines is where it is at for me. So Ra, Yut, Kill. I appreciate the question. And that you remembered that I enjoy tabletop games. So eating crayons and carrying their Uber driver back from the bar. Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely. Hoorah, Semper Fi, Mr. Shane. Hello, dear. Hoorah, my love. So yes, Space Marines is where it's at. But we are here for a bit more of a specific reason. And that reason is, of course, to talk about the 4th installment of Mythica. And yes, we are going to continue to play with fire. And hang on, let me see. Nope, that didn't work. Sorry, project. I didn't mean to make you disappear. So this is Mythica 4, the Iron Crown. And the title is actually a bit misleading. And
yeah, it is.
No, Lord Gravemaster, I'm trying to stay on target. Knock it off. No, I don't want to compare chess candy. You have 2 combat deployments under your belt. I've got like 4 debts and 1 luxury tour, as we like to call it. No, I don't want to compare chess candy. Rude. I love him, but he does like to rub that stuff in my face. And in a good way. But first things first, this is Mythica 4, the Iron Crown. And as we have talked before, you can tell where the budget gets spent in these films, and you can also tell that their budget grew with this film. And that is because we go semi-steampunk for this one. So I think it was I think it was Mythica 2 Darkspore where Project was talking about how you can tell that there's a car under the wagon, and I made the joke where I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you which wagon because it's pretty obvious that this is a flatbed truck that they've paneled with wood and then stuck like a fishing cabin on top of it. But it's called the War Wagon. It serves its purpose. But we've gone semi-steampunk for this installment, and this one is the most bizarre of the 5, in my personal opinion.
It's the most different, definitely.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I think we said that last week that number 3 was kind of very much its own, narratively speaking. This is very much its own
style.
Aesthetically, like, style. It is like this is somebody got let loose and nobody told them no. You know what I mean? So we still have the fighting, we still have the Darkspore, Szorlok is still a threat, we still have, magic, and I mean, K-Sorbs gets to go to the land of volcanoes or the Shadow Realm, as they call it, and basically just pick a fight with Szorlok. And he holds him, like, K-Sorb's whole purpose for this entire film is to just keep Szorlok in the Shadow Realm, where there's no life. Because Szorlok is a necromancer by trade. He's not natural born like Marek. He's a necromancer by trade. So he needs stuff to feed off of, and there's no life in the Shadow Realm, essentially. But this, I think, Project, how did we for me, this one is sort of 3 different films kind of put into one.
It is, yeah, because I think they knew that the 5 would be the last one, probably because that's as many, that's how long the contracts on their actors were for.
Yeah,
that's just a guess on my part. I have no idea.
I would think that's probably accurate.
So they knew they had to wrap up the series, and they had all these ideas that they wanted to do. So they're like, well, let's just do all of them.
Yeah, let's just put them all in there. So you've got, you have so many different threads that get picked up. And then whereas like Marek's slavery thread didn't actually so that one is right out of the gate in film 1, and it doesn't get resolved until the end of film 3 when they come to liberate Thane and they kill the Thieves Guild leader and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So
And it plays a
like,
factor in the second one as well. So
yeah.
it's
So
it's
it
throughout
was
that whole it's its whole arc over several movies.
several films, exactly. And
Whereas
so
this introduces
several arcs that are just like
are
wham bam.
yeah, it's like, oh, there's this guild that Deegan knows, and then they're gone. Okay.
Yeah, and they're like, "Who are your friends?" And you're just like, it's just, it's very, there's not enough development time in this film for a lot of the threads, but they do they tie all of the threads up, so commendable. But it's just because this movie is, I think, only, I don't even think it's 90 minutes. I think it's like 87 minutes, and so it just like, it moves like, you're just
It goes very quickly.
very quick. And um it's there's okay, so as we saw in the last film, Teela died because Marek completely absorbed her.
Oh my
Well, in
goodness,
this,
spoilers.
yeah, sorry. um so in this movie, that would be the only thread, really the newer thread that's been introduced, where Marek has completely absorbed Teela, that um that gets resolved in this film. Because essentially what happens is Teela can take control of Marek's body on occasion. The problem with this is like, I think they tried to, again, there wasn't enough time to develop it, because Marek is not acting like Marek through this whole film. Like, she's very short and upset with Deegan throughout like the whole thing.
Mm.
Not his biggest fan at all. And then you've got hang on, I just saw it. So like, right here, she's literally threatening to kill the owner of the war wagon, who is the Baroness, right? And she's supposed to be like this very capable, evil strategist who has women that
Mm-hmm.
are like zombies. And it's just very bizarre. Like, you don't really, there's no, it's not expanded upon. Her character is
No.
probably the one that she feels like the plot
She's very
contrivance.
she's very cartoony too.
Yes, she is the mustache laughing man. So like, right
Yes.
here, she's literally laughing right here too. She's
Yeah.
very over the top. The actress did a very good job portraying her, because that was clearly what they were going for. But
Yes.
she is a very campy villain who is essentially there for plot contrivance, because they needed to get Thane and Deegan and Marek to move faster, because they are about to cover pretty much an entire continent right now. And so they needed a way to do that. And so they introduced that, at least this is my theory on why she is introduced, because she really does not play a part after they take the war wagon. She just kind of shows up, shoots some arrows, catapults a lance.
I was honestly kind of reminded of Team Rocket from Pokemon. They just keep
That is,
popping up, and
yeah.
it's like, prepare for trouble and make it double.
Yes, exactly.
Like, this is silly.
Yes, it was very it is, like I said, we go into semi-steampunk, as you can tell, like the goggles,
Yeah.
the way that the wagon moves. This is an airship.
This is a blimp.
Yeah, it's a blimp.
And they have like this legion of hang gliders following them, which it's like, wait.
Yeah.
You can't ride hang gliders indefinitely.
Yeah, it's pretty suspension of disbelief is massively required for this film. Absolutely.
Just a bit, yeah. And we haven't even gotten to Zombie Girl.
No, we haven't gotten to Zombie Girl. So like this whole film, the way that Project and I had sort of talked about it. Project feels like this is definitely, and I agree with him, this is like Team Rocket or something of that nature. And then I feel like this whole film was they took steampunk and they took sci-fi adventure fantasy, and then daytime, and this is an important distinction, like soap opera daytime romance, and sort of shoved it all together. Because remember when I said that Teela can take over Marek sometimes?
Yes.
So one of the times that Marek takes over, or sorry, that Teela takes over Marek, she wakes Thane up to kiss him. They're in the war wagon. And before this, Marek's like, I'm not Teela. And then like 2 minutes later, she's literally Teela in a wig.
They brought in the actress.
Yeah, so it's literally Teela. And it looks like Teela, but this is the only time that it ever shifts to look like Teela. So if they had done that consistently when Teela took over, I think it would have played off a little bit better. But the one time,
or even if it was just whenever Teela took over and Thane saw Teela.
Yes, anything like that, I could have it would have helped a lot.
But it's the one time.
Just the one time when she wakes up a sleeping Thane and we can see her as Teela, and then they start kissing in the war wagon, and then Deegan just happens to open the little peephole slider thing, the visor. He'll open up the door visor so he can look in, and then he's like, oh, okay. And then Marek's like, it's not what you think. And that's all that's the other thing in this, that it's very daytime soap opera romance, because people don't actually talk like that. Like, Marek could have come out and been like, look, you don't understand. I absorbed Teela. Something is happening with me. She'll take control sometimes, and I don't know why or how. But she's the one that kissed Thane, not me. As opposed to Deegan sees Marek and Thane, who he believes Marek and Thane kissing, and he's got Zombie Girl up front, which, by the way, she turns Zombie Girl because she drinks the water from the war wagon that had the Darkspore in it. And you're like, okay, one sip is going to turn you into a zombie, but we'll roll with this. And then she just becomes she also becomes a plot contrivance because she's unkillable and insanely strong.
I honestly, I kind of wanted more.
Yeah.
I thought it's like, okay, if you're going to introduce this idea, keep her around, but she's kind of disposed of pretty quickly. It's like, well,
yeah.
Why introduce her then?
Yeah.
And then she just shows up at the end.
Yeah, she saves them from these, apparently ultimate assassin dudes that Szorlok calls forward. These guys right here. And so she helps save them, but then they, stab her, and they all think that she's dead. And you almost get the sense that, Marek was jealous of Zombie Girl because she was with Deegan. And you're like, this is a very strange thing.
Aww.
And hold on, you want to vamp for a second for me?
Okay. So basically what happens is Marek seems like she's kind of jealous of Zombie Girl, because even though Zombie Girl is basically like a kid, she's basically a spoiled princess. So that just seemed a little odd to me. Then we had so she's the spoiled princess. She drank this water that had the Darkspore in it, turned into the Zombie Girl, and then she gets killed by these assassin guys.
Yes, but not killed. But then she shows up randomly at the end.
Yeah.
But they use her, and I'm back. They use her for some suddenly Thane is not strong enough to move a wagon, which makes zero sense. Because it's Thane, and he's literally moved boulders at this point.
Right.
And now all of a sudden he can't move a wagon. And then you're like, okay, well, she shows up because they just needed they apparently needed a demonstration of her strength, that she can like move this wagon without any issues whatsoever.
And again, that's fine, but
Yeah.
then use it.
Yeah. And they really don't. It's kind of like she shows up, she rips off one of the assassin's arm. In fact, it's this one's arm. And then they stab her. So
And you think she's dead.
Yeah, you think she's dead. And she doesn't show up until the very end. And in that in between time, they have to deal with Szorlok. They have to deal with the Baroness showing back up and throwing bombs and all kinds of other stuff at them.
Well, literally like laughing maniacally and
yes,
like twisting their very snidely
that
whiplash.
actress, I will say this, she had a blast in that role. Like, she had fun in that role, for sure. You can tell.
I think she had fun, yeah.
But yeah, so essentially what's happening is Teela possesses Marek and is like, go to the Temple of the Owl. And
hold on. We forgot to mention Hammerhead and his lackeys.
Well, because we're getting there. So because they did so this is them. This is Hammerhead's lackeys. And at the very beginning of the film, here we go. Hammerhead is talking to K-Sorb, so the two of them are talking.
K-Sorb. Okay.
Hey, that's what he calls himself, K-Sorbs. But anyway, so he's like, I believe in Marek, and Hammerhead's like, yeah, I don't. And so Hammerhead,
he does correctly point out every piece of the Darkspore that they've been sent to get has ended up in the hands of the enemy.
Yeah.
He does kind of correctly point that out. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but his plan is no better, because the reason that this film is called The Iron Crown, and the reason that it's actually incredibly misleading, is because the Iron Crown has very little to do in this film. It is far more important in the fifth film than it is in this film, because they are not searching for the Iron Crown. So when his lackeys show up in the war wagon and they're being all maniacal, this is during a dust storm and they're hiding out from it. They're like, you failed. And she's like, and Marek's like, well, if we give you the Darkspore, what's Hammerhead going to do with it? And they're like, something about an Iron Crown. And so she figures out through this between two fight scenes and them now sitting in the war wagon with each other, she figures out, oh, he wants to trade the Darkspore for the Iron Crown to become king of the dwarves. I don't know how she looped that logic together.
Yeah, that's wait, that's a leap. And it just so happens that she's correct.
Yeah, she just happens to be correct. And literally on a whim and a hunch and a prayer, she is correct. So the Iron Crown is not the focus of this film. It's Teela has taken over Marek, and Teela's like, take the Darkspore to the Temple of the Owl. And then and then Marek just happens to know where the Temple of the Owl is. And it's like, and then she's like, I read about it in
it would have made a lot more. It would have made a lot more sense if it was Teela guiding them there the whole time.
Yes. But
which they do eventually do later.
Yeah.
But maybe have that be like a part of the plot where like they need, because as much Marek wants to hold on to her own identity, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But they need Teela's directions.
Yeah, but now Marek just suddenly, all of a sudden, Gojin Pai has a library, and Marek has read the books in it. Like, it's very, again, suspension of disbelief for this film. Like, it is a good thing that the previous 3 films were so strong and you're so invested. And I will say that the note that this film ends on definitely makes you want to go watch the 5th film. But the 4th film overall does not make you want to go you have to give a lot of grace with this film. And I know we're being much harsher with this one than we have been with others. But it's well-deserved criticism, because Arrowstorm has done a phenomenal job up to this point, and the film itself has a lot of great potential and a lot of things that if they had more time, to develop those
or
threads.
or focus on just one or two of these elements as opposed to like 14.
Yeah. Like, if you want to have Teela possessing Marek and guiding them to the Temple of the Owl to hide the Darkspore with the gods, okay, let's follow that thread. But then you also throw in the Baroness, who for some reason has the Darkspore. You don't know why. There's no clarification given. You don't even really know how Marek and Deegan and Thane found out about it.
And if you remember, at the end of the third film, they mention there's the fourth piece of the Darkspore, but he can't get to it.
Yeah, he can't get to it.
He can't get to some random wagon.
Yeah, and then in this film, so at the very beginning, Szorlok shows up because Marek touches the Darkspore and it activates it. So apparently this thing has been lying dormant. So you have no idea how Marek and Deegan and Thane found it.
Even though it was in the water that was contaminating people when it wasn't active.
Yeah. So there's a lot of...
There's some problems with this movie.
Yeah, so Szorlok shows up. So when Szorlok drops down, he's like, "Thank you, I would have never found it without you." And then that's when Gojin Pai drops literally out of thin air and sends them to the realm of shadows, where they have their... Essentially, the two of them come down to a battle of wits. You get to see these two intercut throughout the film, and they're essentially just... This is actually probably the best part of the whole film, is the back and forth between the two of these guys. Really.
I would say so. Yes. Because, I mean, frankly, these are the two best actors.
Also true. It's okay. Yeah, that was... Yes. So at one point, it's actually in the very beginning, Deegan is like, I killed 7.
I killed 7. Yeah.
You owe me 40 pieces of silver, and Marek, I will take that kiss. And like, this is when Marek is being a bratty Mick Bratterson, and she's just super cold shouldering him. And I think the reason that the writers did that is to show you that having Teela possess her has really messed with her internal, like, emotional, and as well it should, because you've got two souls occupying one body. But the way that they went about it, it really just felt like Marek was PMSing. It didn't feel like she was struggling. She was just pissed off the whole time, is literally it. So there wasn't a lot of nuance or character development with that.
There was also, like, you heard, like, anytime, like, Teela was, like, fighting to get in there, you heard, like, Teela say, like, let me out.
Yeah.
But it's like, wait a minute, but they're nowhere close to where you're going, so there's nothing for you to come out to.
Mm-hmm. And the one time that it made sense for Teela to come out, at one point, Marek threatens to hurt Thane if Teela won't save Deegan, because Deegan takes a lance through the chest. Like,
survives way longer than he should have.
Yes, absolutely. Especially because they, like, pull it out of him, and he would basically have, like, a 3-inch diameter hole, and I'm not even joking. So he should have been dead.
Yeah, that lance was huge.
It was massive. So it's it's just like, so at that part is when Marek is like, Teela, you better come out now and heal him, or I'm gonna hurt Thane. That is really the only time that it made sense to have Teela come out, when they're nowhere near where they need to be, essentially. Yes, Eric, I have issues with the ballista bolt. Yes, it was a very big bolt from a very tiny launcher. Like, the scale didn't really match. I've not had a lance through my chest. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I've been stuck with arrows, and I've been shot a couple times. Not anything that, like, penetrated, but Yeah, definitely no lance through my chest. I'm pretty sure I would have been singing my swan song right then. Clay, I agree.
Wow.
This, like we said, the elements in this film, like the war wagon, could have worked. Lady Zombie could have worked. Assassins could have, like, the assassins were great. Like all of these elements would have been great if they would
had developed
have
them more.
focused. Yeah, if it had been the war wagon and the assassins, and we would have spent time developing those, it would have made sense. How did you figure out that it was in the war wagon? How did you figure out that she had the Darkspore? How are you going to outrun her? Why did you leave her alive? Like, clearly this woman is insane and dangerous. So what are you doing? And the thing is too with this, so remember, she's got her, hang on. Here's the blimp that's on fire, by the way. This is Szorlok. So Szorlok kills the blimp.
Bye, Team Rocket.
But yeah, bye, Team Rocket. How did
Team
she?
Rocket
Because
blast
she
off
was
again!
she was nowhere around when they were discussing where they were headed.
Yeah.
So there's no feasible way, because this continent is huge. It's the whole reason they needed the war wagon. And you'll see just how large the continent is in the 5th film as well. Like, it's pretty big. So the idea that she was able to retrieve men, retrieve her blimp, get airborne, and find them is a pretty astonishing feat. Yeah, like, it's pretty freaking astonishing, since she had no idea where they were. Because here's the thing. They commandeer the war wagon. Then they leave her with her 2 women. And they drive down the road a few kilometers. Yeah, and like, so the Baroness is nowhere around when Teela takes over and is like, go to the Temple of the Owl. Like, there's no way that this woman is going to be able to find them on this continent realistically. So
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff. Go ahead.
And from a plot standpoint, there's something that our heroes are running from, but there's 2 other factions that are chasing them too. There's the assassins,
yes,
and there's the
Hammerheads,
Hammerheads goons. So it's like, why is there a 3rd faction? It's too much.
Yeah, it is a lot. Like, if it had just been them running from the assassins, and, you know, if the Baroness had like a magical homing beacon, like, it literally would not have taken much. Hey, this is like, I have a.
Or how about have Zombie Girl is her daughter, and so like when she like got like knocked out in the attack or something, so she was in the cart and she didn't know, like, wait, where is she? Oh, she's still in the cart. I need to go get her. It would give her a reason to keep following them.
Yeah. Something besides pure spite, essentially. Like,
yeah.
I get the characterization they were going for with the Baroness, because she's supposed to be the woman who you shall not wrong. Like, you will regret crossing her. And that's fine.
I think I've dated a few of those.
There's no this suspension of disbelief for the Baroness after the war wagon has been commandeered. And even when, like I said, how did they figure out that the Darkspore was there? We never really get that clarification.
No.
But it's even this, so you already had to suspend quite a bit of disbelief with that. But now you're having to completely, like, it's to the point that it takes you out of the story, because you have no idea how she found them. Because there's no ruts from the war wagon. There's no, like, it's not like they're blazing a trail. They just followed the roads. And there's hundreds of roads. There's all these different places that they could have gone. So you have no magical tracking device. It's not like Zombie Girl was her daughter, like Project said. There's really no motivation outside of they show up to lance Deegan through the chest so that Marek can call on Teela to heal him. Like, that really feels like their whole reason for existence. And then to just get blown up at the end. Because again, when our heroes make it to the Temple of the Owl, which is magically hidden, the Baroness shows up again, and she just starts dropping bombs over the side, and then she's completely wiped out by Szorlok, who sets the blimp on fire. It's just it's like Project said, there's just too many factions. I could have been on board with them running from the assassins, from Szorlok's assassins, and from Hammerhead's goons, or Szorlok's assassins and the Baroness, because she was like magically tracking them. But you have 3 factions chasing them. You have Zombie Girl, who literally gets taken out of the film rather quick. Like, we see how strong she is. She rips off an assassin's arm, and then she's like, doesn't show up again until the end of the movie. So there's just too much going on. Plus, you've got this daytime romance with Teela and Thane and Marek and Deegan, and you're like, it would, like, people, like I was saying, people don't talk like that. Like, Marek would not have come out and been like, it's not what you think, and then just stop talking. And Deegan would have asked a question. He'd been like, what do you mean it's not what I think? I saw what I saw. Like, I'm listening. What do you mean it's not what I think? Like, human beings ask questions, and they say, like, they communicate. Even if they're yelling at each other, they're still going to communicate. So,
and you can also tell that the whole idea of Marek and Teela having like this almost this internal battle was something that came about later, because we had no indications of that in the last movie.
No. And while that does play an important part in the 5th movie, which is why I have a feeling, which is why they did it. Hang on, I'm trying to find the, like, there's just, it really, like, a lot of stuff comes out of left field, like this guy, and never really gets resolved. Like, he shows up.
Doesn't even have a line.
Yeah. He walks out of the Temple of the Owl, and then he fights some of the Sky Pirates, and then he just vanishes. Like, he just poofs. So, and he's Egyptian looking. And we have had no lore from Egypt anywhere in this entire mythos. But he vanishes. So the best I can come up with is that he was Aniset's paladin, because it's the Temple of the Owl. Aniset's moniker is an owl. And then you find out, so Teela and Thane and Deegan get inside, and because Szorlok shows up, and he completely absorbs Go Junpai.
Yes. Well, because they had been battling in that realm, and they had used up all the magic that they possibly could.
Yeah, so Go Junpai is essentially defenseless at this point.
Yes.
Magically
even though he's
speaking.
Hercules.
Yeah, even though he's Hercules. But so then Go Junpai runs out of magic, and Szorlok takes that moment to absorb his life force, because again, Szorlok is a necromancer by trade. And he completely absorbs Go Junpai, so now Go Junpai is inside of Szorlok. And Szorlok walks out of the realm of shadows right after he finishes absorbing. But of course, the portals open right where, like, right next to the Temple of the Owls. So Thane and Deegan and yes, very convenient. So they look and they see Go Junpai get absorbed, and they're like, crap. And then the Baroness, here's the thing. She does, like, she's given no indication that she's a complete moron. But now suddenly she sees this dude who has magicked out of thin air and completely dusted her warriors. Like, I mean, literally, they turned to dust. He dusts all of her fighters, and she decides that she's going to throw a bomb at him, like a hand grenade. And it goes about as well as you can expect. The blimp, he blows up the blimp, and that is how and she's like, fight. And it's like, what? Like, it's just, again, her whole arc, the suspension of disbelief is astronomical for what's needed. But they go into the temple, and you see...
Basically, her plot line is, they stole my car, I'm going to chase them to the ends of the earth to get it back.
and then get blown up by a dude that walks out of thin air. Because the other thing too, they leave the war wagon because Teela takes back over Marek, and she's like, "This is hallowed ground. You leave the wagon here," and it's like that makes absolutely no sense, but okay, because she doesn't tell them to take off their shoes or anything like that.
No.
But so they abandon the war wagon.
Yes, but then it's also, in order to get to where the temple actually is, it's over the lake, so the car couldn't drive over it anyway. So what's the point of the whole? Like, there's no point to the whole. This is sacred ground. You can't continue to drive. Why?
I guess maybe she's thinking like there's a sandbar there and they could have tried, but again, like the sand, like it would have sunk within the first probably 10 feet if it got that far.
Oh yeah, something that big would get stuck in the sand in the silt really fast.
Yeah, so they have to walk. So like the Baroness's whole objective is right there. Like she's upset that she doesn't have a war wagon. Okay, it's right there. Like take it and go. But no.
Mm-hmm.
So they go into the Temple of the Owl, and Teela is laying there, except now she's blonde and in a white getup.
Hold on, though. There's a barrier around the portal, so Sojak can't just walk in after them.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
It's not really explained why there's a barrier for him.
Yeah, it's just and you're like, okay, well, it's Szorlok, so maybe it's just keeping him out because he's evil. But then, as Project has pointed out, Marek is a natural-born necromancer, so technically it should keep her out too. And so I don't know if it's because she's got Teela roaming around inside of her or what, but they're able to walk through the barrier. Szorlok's stuck outside, and he's basically like shooting magic at this temple, which looks like a giant tree.
Puff and I'll blow this temple down.
Pretty much. And so they go inside, and Teela comes out of Marek's body and goes back into Teela's body. So Teela comes back, except she's Anisette. And she's like, and she even stands up and she's like, we are Anisette. She has
Teela
leveled up to goddess.
Yes,
she has leveled up to goddess. Yep. Teela the White. Well, Thane also gets a power up. He's actually been pretty badass through this entire film, quite frankly. But when levels
Mark,
up from
when Mark said, "I'll hurt Thane if you don't let me save Deegan," he just kind of like, "Oh,
yeah."
Some friend you got there, buddy.
Absolutely, yep. And then he's like, "I understand," because Marek's like, "I'm sorry," and Thane's like, "I understand," and I'm like, "Dude, she couldn't hurt you if she tried. Like, you are literally a tank." But he does get an upgrade. So Marek got an upgrade in powers in the last film. Thane goes from tank to paladin in this one. And she literally, Teela / Anisette, 1000%, 1000% calls him her paladin. And then, so now Teela and Anisette are possessing Teela's body. So it's very weird how it works because it's almost like the Marek and Teela situation again, except Anisette only comes out when she wants to, not when Teela wants her to.
Which you would think being a goddess, she would want to be the dominant one.
Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. And yeah, there's a whole like daytime soap opera. I'm telling you guys, this is some daytime soap opera stuff going on.
And also, because I don't remember that much from the next film, but shouldn't Marek now not have that power up anymore?
Yeah, nope. I didn't write this film, all right? Yeah, Eric, Marek, I'll hurt Thane. You can try. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Like Thane just kind of like looks at her. But yeah, it's a threat, and it gets Teela to come out and heal Deegan, who should have been dead a long time ago. But
a lance in the chest.
Yeah, it threw clean. That sucker was huge.
Center of mass, right there.
like I'm pretty sure that pierced his heart. Like that boy is dead.
Yeah,
he lived way longer than he should have, especially because they somehow get the lance out of his chest. Like,
yeah, it's like you don't get like a final death scene with a wound right there. You're dead.
yeah, like that is it. Like, so, it comes to the end, and
It was a good
Thane.
shot. You got to give her that.
It was a good shot. Thane, Thane ditches.
Just a flesh wound.
Just, yeah, pretty much. It's the same scenario. Like, honest to God.
Just rub some dirt in it.
The end of this film. So remember how we said that somehow between snippets of conversation and on a whim and a hope and a prayer and a guess, Marek has figured out that Hammerhead wants to trade the remaining Darkspore piece for the Iron Crown to becoming King of the Dwarves. This whole film has literally been to get to the Temple of the Owl so that they can hide the last piece with the gods. And they don't do that. Like, Marek does not do that. She decides in her infinite wisdom that she's not going to follow Gojin Pai's advice anymore, which is what she has been doing this whole movie, because Gojin Pai was the one who said, take the Darkspore to where the gods can protect it. And they're like, where is that? And that's when Teela first pops out and is like, go to the Temple of the Owl. Like, it's all very convenient. And like, oh my God. She's the whole reason they're going to the Temple of the Owl is literally because Gojin Pai told them to. And it's at the very end, she's like, I'm gonna do what Hammerhead was gonna do, and I'm gonna get the Iron Crown of the Dwarves. Like, what? I'm so confused. I don't understand. Why are we? This is complete. Like I said, Marek has been completely out of character for this entire film. But this one, you cannot blame on her being possessed by Teela.
Which, again, they had that excuse.
Yeah.
They could have used it.
She could have, Teela could have simply been, the gods will not accept the Darkspore even to protect it because they fear it's dark magic or whatever. Well, then all of a sudden, here's the other thing. Marek all of a sudden is just like a lore enthusiast and encyclopedia, because she's like, when she pieces together this contrived plot that Hammerhead is going to go ahead and trade the Darkspore for the Iron Crown, she's like, I think he's going for the Hammer of Tet. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. So now we've introduced that other element. Like, it's just, it comes out of nowhere. And she comes up with it all on her own. And they're like, and then they try to give you, and Deegan's like, yeah, my mom used to tell me stories about that, but it's just a fairy tale. And you're like, no. You don't get to just gloss over that.
Would have made a lot more sense if it was Anisette who informed them that. Like, okay, all right, so this is the situation. Okay, so I'm now mortal, so let me tell you how you can beat him.
Yes, exactly. It would have made much more sense. And the thing is that really you get the sense that Teela just wanted back in her own body, or Anisette wanted Teela back in her own body so that she could officially like possess the body or whatever. And so
again,
it was why
Anisette's body looks exactly like Teela's, I don't know.
Yeah, like, it's, again, suspension of disbelief. There's a lot of good elements had they been left on, like, if they had narrowed it down and stuck with 2 or 3 of these elements, it would have been a much tighter story and it would have been executed better. But this is just kind of all over the place. And like, really, that's what I said. You can tell that their budget increased because they had fun with it. They really did. Faye, I see that Project Storytime and others have answered you, but yes, this is a film series. It's called the Mythica series. There's 5 in total. This is the 4th film. The past 3 weeks, the last 3 shows, we covered 1, 2, and 3, and next week we'll be covering number 5, the final one. Hopefully you like them. This is definitely the weakest of the 5, in my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I think this one
So,
is the weakest.
but it's still, there's just enough of a hook at the end that you're like, okay, let's go watch number 5. And I'm so glad that I did, because number 5 is freaking fantastic. It really, truly is. Like, just the arcs and the character development and the overall story and the conclusion. It's just like, wow. It's so good. But
Eric Becca. Thane, Teela wants us to go for the Temple of the Owl. That's a myth. We need the Hammer of Tech. That's a myth.
yes, that's almost exactly how that conversation goes. Like,
Pretty much.
Literally. That is how that conversation goes. So OBG70, this is actually a fan-made film. Like, this is a Kickstarter campaign, partially funded film. So the studio put up so much money, and then Kickstarter for each one of these 5 films, they had a Kickstarter campaign for each one of the 5 films. But the total budget, as I've said before, there's no official numbers really anywhere, but between the 5 films, I think it's only between $3 and $4 million for all 5 films. That's it.
I believe so, yeah.
And
which for 5 films is minuscule.
Yes, and what they did with it is incredible, which is just proof of how terrible modern Hollywood is. So, like I said, these nostalgic Nirvana streams are literally to help you guys find something that you love and maybe introduce you to new things that you've never heard of. Like Faye's never heard of these before, and several of you others had not. And then on the flip side, maybe remind you of great things that you used to really love but haven't visited in a while and want to revisit. So, do I consider this movie a character assassination of Hammerhead? Not really, because even in the first film, he's kind of a jerk.
And he didn't have that much of a character. He was just the
Yeah.
guy at the bar. That gave out there's postings there.
There is something that happens in the 5th film, and we'll talk about it next week, but there's something that happens in the 5th film where a whole lot of lore gets thrown at you, and you're like, he didn't remember that? He didn't realize that? He wouldn't bring this up? But, like, the conversation between Gojin Pai and Hammerhead at the beginning of this film, you get the sense that Hammerhead has known a lot more than what he's let on. And again, these films run into the issue of there was not enough time to develop these ideas, even though they're very good ideas. I think this conversation between Gojin Pai, this one right here at the very beginning of the film, I think this conversation should have actually happened in the 3rd film so that it had time to develop. But again, just like with everything else in this film, it was very rushed. But again, even though this is the weakest of the 5 films, it's still really good. It is a lot of fun. There's humor, there's brevity. It also gets really dark, especially where Szorlok and Gojin Pai and Marek are concerned. So there's a lot of stuff to love in this film. It's just that the same continuity and tight storytelling that we saw in 1, 2, and 3, and that you see again in 5 is not really there. It's much more convoluted and suffers from being eyes too big for its stomach type deal. They had a whole lot that they wanted to do, and rather than cut out bits and pieces that didn't fit, they tried to hammer it all in there. And it didn't really work, because you do feel like you're watching almost 3 different movies, essentially. But it does add to the overall storyline, to the overall plot, to the arc of the characters, and the final film, the overall story. It does add to it. It doesn't detract from it. So it does have that going for it. And if you skip this film, if you just go from 3 to 5, you will be very lost. Like, you have no idea what is happening. I still,
I would
again,
say, I think this is probably the one that's the most dependent on the other films, even though tonally it's a very different movie.
Yes, it is. It's very dependent on you having seen the other films. And you can actually find these. So I saw You can find all 5 films. Number 3 is not currently there. It's but they are on Amazon, and I think you can even get them on YouTube now. I believe they're available to rent or buy on YouTube, which is really nice.
I think they are. Come to think of
So,
it,
because I know 3 is on YouTube, so even though you can't watch it on Amazon Prime, yeah. See, Eric. So for some reason, number 3 is not, and it might be a regional thing, but number 3 is not currently available on Amazon unless you've already purchased it. I don't know why.
Really?
You did.
Because
Okay.
I watched them all on Amazon as well.
Did you buy it?
No.
No? Okay. Interesting, because I tried to just do the free IMDb thing, and it was
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
not
did.
available. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I guess all 5 of them. Yeah, I guess all 5 of them are on Amazon. You can also get them off of YouTube. So, whichever way you want to go. Their official website also has the links to the films, which is arrowstormentertainment.com. We visited there the previous Nostalgia Nirvanas. But it's really, really good. It's definitely worth it. And it's a great way. Like, these are movies that you can watch in an we talked about this last time. You could watch one film a day, Monday through Friday, and you wouldn't be sacrificing a lot of your evening, because they're not very long, but they're very good. They're very lore heavy. And they're a lot of fun. Like, this film, for all of its flaws, is still a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, as bizarre as the whole Baroness thing was, I enjoyed those scenes because they're just so insane.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we've got a couple on the donation side. Cybot1552 donated 2 more times, so for $5 says, hope you all are doing well. Just wanted to show some appreciation since I might miss some future streams as a result of getting a new teaching job. Congratulations, sir.
Hey.
Do not worry. I am not one of those prog freak teachers you see on TikTok. Oh, thank God.
God.
We're not all insane leftists. I appreciate that. Thank you for putting any fears aside, to assuage any fears. I do appreciate that, and thank you so much for your support.
And yeah, my mom's also a teacher. I know not all of them are insane.
Yeah, just
although she
the ones
raised
that we
me,
see.
the ones that crave attention seem to be the bizarre ones.
Yeah, the ones who need some kind of if you need affirmation from 5-year-olds, you need to go seek mental help, because just like validation and affirmation for you as a human being existing, just no. You don't get that from 5-year-olds.
When the children are more mature than you are, that's a problem.
It's a very big problem. So yes, congratulations, Cybot. And he said for another $1, P.S. I might miss this stream, but I still want to hear your reply to my previous questions regarding your preferred Warhammer army and what you would do with the Tarzan movie if you were in charge of it. Have a good one. Thank you, Cybot. We did get to those very first thing, just like I promised. So hopefully you do get to hear those and you get to listen to these responses as well. Raj for 10 Canadian dollars says, I'm almost caught up on this 4th installment of Mythica series, Lady G. Just one more to go. Looking forward to the discussion as always. Thank you so much, Raj. I appreciate the support. I hope that you had a good time tonight, and that you're still looking forward to watching it. Because, again, it is important to the rest of the story for several reasons, and it'll make more sense when you watch the 5th one. But hopefully you're still looking forward to it and this didn't ruin anything for you. Eric B for $10 says, I'm all caught up, so I know what you're talking about now. When are you going to watch The Gamers Dorkness Rising? I've seen that, but we can do it. We can do a Nirvana stream over that. Absolutely. But I just wanted to catch all of those on the donation side. I appreciate you guys so much. I honestly cannot even put into words just how much it means to me that you guys spend your time and that you donate and that you continue to support me and the channel and everything. It really does mean a lot. I am eternally grateful. I guess, Project, what would be your favorite part and your least favorite part of this particular film?
Well, from a I guess from a storytelling standpoint, I do like the kind of the basic message. Well, the basic theme of the film, I would say, would be understanding the burden of leadership and Marek having to take it up. That it's not hammered on that much, which I think is one of the problems.
Yeah.
But I do like that Marek does realize she needs to take the role of leader. She has to stop looking to other people for guidance. My favorite part of the movie is I liked Zombie Girl. I wanted more of her.
Yes. She was a very interesting addition for sure, and definitely underutilized. But like we said, a lot of things that got picked up in this film were unceremoniously dropped. Like they were either resolved or taken out of the equation, period. Like, and I mean the Hammerheads goons that are chasing them, their sorceress, who has been a badass through the whole movie, like literally just killing it and people, like just absolutely vicious. The assassins get one over on her and they just knock her out of the equation. And then Marek goes and picks up one of her elemental, like one of her like little bottles, and she's like, it's crushed. I forget what she calls it, but she's like, this is very expensive. And it's like, okay, if Marek knows to use that on these guys and turns them to so in one fell swoop, Hammerhead's goon, their sorceress gets taken out, and then Marek takes out all three assassins using an element that was on the other sorceress.
Yes.
So like it's just very abrupt and unceremoniously, just like they hack the rest of that out. And so like it's very confusing.
Yeah, and I don't think I have one specific thing I can point to as as my least favorite moment, because it's more just how disjointed most of this film is. Would be my biggest thing.
Yeah, I would say so. My favorite part of this film is actually the end, where Marek makes a decision finally, because she's been pretty indecisive through this whole thing. And even though even though the decision does not make any sense to me, like at all, she makes one. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She, like, this is the biggest character development that we have had from Marek through the whole series, because she's been having illusions of grandeur. And you know, this is real. Like when she went questing in the first movie, it was sort of starry doe-eyed type deals going on. And then as we progress from there, like other people were making the decisions. And I would say that in this film, the fact that she makes a decision is what I really like, even though it doesn't make. Yeah, I have a huge issue with it too, Eric, but she makes it, and it makes zero sense. It's completely out of line for her character, but throughout this whole film, especially this one,
it's a gigantic leap of faith, even though they haven't really established what exactly she's leaping on faith for.
Yeah, exactly. And it like I said, through this whole film, the Iron Crown is not what I would have titled this film. Like, I understand its importance in the fifth film, but it's really kind of a side note through this whole movie. It only comes up, I think, twice. Really. It just comes up twice. But I do like that she made a decision, even though I completely disagree with the way that it came about and the decision that she did make. I completely disagreed with it. But it's I would say that is probably, just because it is a crap ton of character development for Marek, who we haven't really seen throughout this whole, like, she's just been this, like I said before, PMSing bitchy Marek when she's her, and then this, like, almost in a half drugged state when it's Teela. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get Marek, which is kind of nice, and she does make a decision. My least, honestly, I think my least favorite part of this is
it might be the decision that she makes at the end.
It might be the decision she makes at the end. I think so. Well, also, it's kind of tied to that. Throughout this whole film, they keep telling her that she's the leader for a reason and we follow her for a reason. And really, Deegan is the only one where that feels like an authentic and organic conversation. Everyone else, it feels kind of like forced almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're supposed to believe now that she's the reluctant hero. Unfortunately, that doesn't work because for the first 3 films, she was very much the hopeful, aspiring hero. And so even
we're going on an adventure, right?
Basically. And they're like, well, she absorbed Teela, so that's why she's like this. No, that's not really, you don't see that struggle in this film. You really don't. You don't see her struggling with the fact that, like, she doesn't wake up from nightmares from absorbing Teela. It's not like Teela is, if like Teela had talked to her in dreams or something, like I'm saying, more development was needed. This would have been, that would have
worked.
She would have shot up and been like, I saw Teela, but like she's gone. And then Thane could have been like, well, what exactly happened? And then they could have tried to like explore exactly what happened when Marek completely absorbed Teela. And it would have made more sense. But they didn't do that. So that would have to probably be my least favorite thing, is the fact that everybody just had to keep reassuring Marek, who is now the reluctant hero. And there's no sense of that type of arc from Marek through this whole film. So that is probably the weakest spot of the film for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. But Eric, they didn't use it through this whole film, and it becomes important in the 5th film, but you don't even know why or how, and it doesn't even really get used until like the last 10 minutes of the 5th film. So it's a whole lot. Like, yes, they sacrificed the world on this.
Did we even know that Sojek even had the Iron Crown at the end? Like, how did she know that he had it?
That's the thing. Again, it's that same whim and hope and like literally a lucky guess. It was a literal lucky guess. And he could have easily been like, give me the Darkspore and I'll show you the crown. And like, what would she have done? You know what I mean? Like, no.
Well, and after he makes the trade, he has no reason why he shouldn't just continue attacking the temple and then drain their life energy.
Yeah,
it's like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, it is very bizarre. And then Thane at the very end, Thane and Teela leave to go here is the plan from here. Is Thane and Teela leave to go gather forces to face Szorlok's undead army that they know he's going to build, because if a body is not in a hollowed grave, he can raise it and it will be undead. And he'll have an invincible army. And then Marek and Deegan are supposed to figure out how to use the crown, like where to go and what to do, and find the Hammer of Tet. So like, it's just, that's how the movie ends. And you're like, I want to know how this plays out, because you've gone through all 4 films and that hook is just enough of a hook. You're like, what the hell are they going to do with this crown? So it's just enough that you're like, yeah, I really want to see how this resolves itself. And the 5th film is fantastic, guys. I'm super excited for next week. But yeah, this one is just buckle up because you are about to go through like 5 different genres and 30 different story arcs, and they get resolved quick.
Yep.
But I think I've kept you guys here long enough. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. And Project, do you have anything you want to plug? Or whoa, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. I took Storytime out and I didn't mean to. Do you have anything that you would like to plug or share or anything that you are excited about? Like next week?
Well, yeah. So, my wife actually will be doing her very first solo video.
Yay!
So she is doing a reading of Gawain and the Green Knight.
Ooh, I will totally be there for that. Very excited.
So that I should have that video out either Friday or either Saturday or Sunday. Depends on how long it takes me to edit it together. Yeah, this is the first Project Storytime video that I've had nothing to do with. I'm just editing it.
Having had to edit quite a few vids on my own, that's not nothing. Like, yikes. Editing is the bane of my existence right now. I'm going to be completely honest. But that is exciting. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, and then also on Saturday you can catch me on with Heirs of Chaos. We are watching. We basically do an EFAP type show, and this week we'll be looking at a video of someone claiming that the movie is always better than the book. Yeah.
No. No. Stand there in your wrongness and be wrong.
That's what we aim to prove.
There you go. I swear by my little floral bonnet. So, we're looking forward to that, guys. Make sure you check out Project and Heiress of Chaos on Saturday. We love Heiress over here. She is a doll, or Goddess of Chaos, whichever. And it's yeah. So make sure you check that out. Can't wait to see Mrs. Project Storytime's vid. That's super exciting. As far as I go, I've got like. I've got 2 more vids that 2 more new vids that I have to make. I'm still working on my 8 Wheel of Time reaction vids, which I think I might just make one really long. I haven't decided yet. Like there's just so much that I have to work on, and I swear you will get all of it, and there's lots of Lord of the Rings stuff to come. But Ooh. Wheel of Time, Bounding into Comics just dropped an article about Brandon Sanderson's interview, and I had not watched the interview yet, but as Bounding does, they did a very concise, thorough overview of what happened. And let's just say that Brandon Sanderson was not nearly as involved in this project as he should have been, could have been, or was led to believe by Amazon. And that's why when I saw this and I was like, I find it very hard to believe that Brandon Sanderson was involved in this project because of how horrifically they have train wrecked this thing. Turns out I was correct. He was not nearly as involved as was led to believe. But again, this is a nostalgic Nirvana stream. We are not going to go down that road. We're going to stay happy and upbeat and things that we love. But so I've got tons of stuff coming out for you guys. Miss Martin Muses has got her Lord of the Rings on Saturday. We are on Return of the King. And nice. I've got so much. Saturday night, I will be on Lethal Lightning's channel for our monthly Sailor Moon stream. I'm forgetting something. And I think I have like 4 other live streams and tons of other vids to come out. besides, I got a lot of work. You guys will see a lot of stuff. I promise. It's just keep an eye on the channel. You'll get something. I swear. Yeah, Clay. To nobody's shock that Sanderson was not nearly as involved as the studio claimed, because Sanderson said he was involved, but like didn't say that he was. And he even says in that interview, like, don't overestimate my importance or my involvement. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? But to close out the stream, this is the studio that has brought us the Mythica series. You can see their different films down here. We stop by this place after every stream just so you guys can kind of see that there is other stuff out there. And like I've said on every stream, to the point that all of you and Project are probably sick of hearing it, the only way that we are going to really have any kind of impact on this culture war, because that's what it like, whether you want to call it a culture war or just to change the direction that Hollywood seems to be ramrodding everybody to, you can't just close your wallet to the things that you don't like or that are disrespectful. You need to open your wallet for projects that are exciting, that do what they say they're going to do, that you love, that you enjoy, because that's how you get more of what you love and less of what has been disrespectful and disheartening and disingenuous towards the fans. So this is Arrowstorm It's this, like I said, the studio that did Mythica. They have lots of other stuff. The Outpost is actually a really good show. I know it says CW, but this is actually a really decent show. So I recommend you guys just
if I still had cable, I'd check it out.
Yeah. I forget where else you can stream it, but there's a few places that you can look. Oh, they got a new picture for Marketplace. Sign up to be an extra. Oh my God, take me there. No, but here we go. So, God dang it. One day their Blu-rays will be back in stock. One day, and I will own it on Blu-ray. But yeah, so guys,
I've actually seen most of their movies.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like, just go out and find stuff to enjoy, whether that be older films, older television shows, older books, older music. We're going to cover all of that. This show is not, this stream is not specific to film. Like, we're going to cover books, we're going to cover music, we're going to cover television show. We'll do it all.
Nice.
So, but specifically, I really feel like the Mythica films are this hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about. And I'm really excited for you guys to sort of be able to explore these things on your own and discover them. So again, I really appreciate you guys stopping by. You have all been fantastic, and we'll see you next week.